This morning we're going to talk about money moves from this week. So we're going to briefly cover stablecoin. We're going to cover inflation and some moves I made with my cash to try to reduce risk and also increase return. And so we'll get right into this. We've talked about previously how there's sites you can put money into that have something called stablecoin, and that coin is a crypto coin backed by assets, and it has certain risks and things. But right now, inflation is, they say 7%. I'd stay around somewhere around 10 to 12. I looked at prices as the things I sell last night, and they went from 1970 to 32.88. They went from 670 to 13.22. So I would say a lot of things are increasing in price, a lot more than just what the inflation numbers say. And I'd say you need to, adhere to that, understand that, to decide, how do you make money with inflation, which we talked about last video, which I will show you right here. This is some moves on the last video about real estate that I moved into, and some money that I borrowed that I'll pay back with cheaper money. And so this week we're talking about cash. So what do you do with your cash in order to preserve it? Now you're losing probably 7 to 12% per year on your cash that you have in savings right now. Okay? It's been true that you've been losing for a year and a half, even though people didn't see it. That's been a true thing. And so some things that I did was, number one, I bought more inventory for certain inventory that I felt was going to rise in value as the dollar went down in value, and that has occurred. And then this week, I bought 2 stable coins. I bought GUSD, which is Gemini's stablecoin backed by assets and audited, and USDC. Now, I did not buy Tether. Tether, there's been some controversy about what assets it's actually backed by, and I think that there's more risk and not more return in that. But the thing that helped me, push me this week to do this was, when the official inflation numbers came out, and then secondly, there was a bonus on Celsius that said if you put 25,000 into Celsius in USDC, they will give you $600 for 25,000, and then a 50 and 10 before that, so a total of $660 in Bitcoin. So by moving this 25,000 into there, I made 8.5% is what I'm making now, and they gave me $660 as a bonus for moving. It cost me about $4 to $5 for each transfer, and I did one transfer of $1,100 and one transfer of $23,900 because I wanted to make sure the crypto wallet was correct. There's no issues with that when I did the major transfer. So I paid, $4 to $5 twice, so about $10 to move that coin from Coinbase Pro, where I converted it, onto my Celsius. Now, Blockfi, you can take directly out of your bank account and deposit in Blockfi. And here's Blockfi. You can take it directly from your bank account, deposit in Blockfi, and that goes directly into GUSD, which is a Gemini stablecoin. And your rates on Blockfi, if you can see them here, are 9% for the first 40,000. So right now I have 20,000 in there, and if I decide to do that with more money, then I could go up to 40,000. I probably wouldn't go over that just because of the difference in rate. And then on Celsius here, now they have a lot of different numbers here, but what I moved into was USDC, which is 8.5. Here's Tether, which I don't get into, and then the same GUSD. And then down here you see the interest rates on their crypto coins, which we've talked about. I have in other videos, and how much we invest in that and why and what the propositions are. And so when you go, and do this kind of a move, you're thinking about, how do I decrease my risks? Now, so you don't have to balance or look at the risk of stablecoin alone, because stablecoin is just one risk. The other risk is inflation. So when your money is sitting in your bank account, you're guaranteed to lose 7 to 12% per year. You're guaranteed 100%. So there is certainty of loss here. Whether you believe that or not doesn't change the certainty of loss. And on this side, there is a percent gain, but there's also some risk of the underlying asset because they're backed by a company, Gemini or USDC, and it's backed by assets, but those assets haven't been tested. There hasn't been a situation where those companies have gone bankrupt and they see how that insurance plays out, how that money plays out, what your return is, and how that works. But those are two competing risks, and you need to ignore risk, not ignore risk, but what most people do with risk is they see a risk they're aware of, and they say, I don't want risk. Okay, so they're aware of the risk of stablecoin, and so they say, I don't want risk, they leave it in the bank account. And so, the problem with that is that risk is not less valid if you're not aware of it, right? If you're not aware of it, it doesn't change that it exists. It's still there. And so being aware of the situation might bother you a little more, but it's certainly a better position to make decisions from. And so my decision was I was going to shift a lot of my cash into stablecoin so that it was not subject to the certainty of loss in inflation. It had the 8.5%, 9% return to kind of counteract that, to give myself a minimal risk with the maximum reward, just for money I haven't really invested in assets. So just a move that I'm making. You can do your own. Have a great day. I'll talk to you later.